Imagine you are walking down the street, right? And you see a wolf actively attacking a sheep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Intense start.
Yeah. But I mean, your immediate visceral instinct is probably to, intervene, to
Right.
yell or fight the wolf to stop the injustice.
Right, of course. I think that's most people's natural reaction.
But what if instead of jumping into the fray, you had the mental discipline to basically just observe it, to recognize that wolves eat sheep and just walk away?
Just completely ignore it.
Exactly. To view that whole life and death struggle as just like part of an ant kingdom that simply isn't your problem.
That is a pretty extreme level of
It
detachment.
really is. It's almost unsettling. But according to some philosophical frameworks, that exact mindset is considered the absolute pinnacle of human enlightenment.
Yeah, because it challenges literally everything our modern culture teaches us about, engagement and responsibility.
Right.
And yet, throughout human history, all these great thinkers have obsessively mapped out these different levels or realms of human existence.
Basically suggesting that our instinct to constantly fight and struggle is actually a sign that we're stuck at the very bottom of the spiritual ladder.
Which is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
For sure. Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are exploring this fascinating test from December 2012 titled The Highest Realm of Life.
Written by Swafeng.
Yes, exactly. And our goal here for you listening is to look at how different philosophies, religions, and scholars have categorized these realms of existence.
Right, starting from our lowest, grittiest human struggles all the way up to those highest states of transcendent awareness.
And then we're going to examine the author's own, really unique and highly specific framework for achieving ultimate spiritual freedom.
But before we map the ascent, we kind of have to define the terrain. The text gives us a very specific baseline for what a realm actually is.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think the word realm can sound like, I don't know, something out of a high fantasy novel.
Yeah, like elves and dragons or something. But according to the author, a realm indicates the spiritual and mental height of a person.
Okay.
It's a reflection of the essence, the taste, the quality, and really the ultimate value of their life. We are not talking about a physical dimension.
So it's an internal state of being.
Exactly.
Right. So for you listening, I want you to think of realms not as magical places, but as operating systems for your brain.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, because you have your hardware, right?
Right.
Your physical body.
Right.
And your environment sends you inputs like stress at work, joy, traffic jams, relationship drama.
The daily grind.
Right. And when you upgrade your operating system or your realm, you handle the exact same inputs in a vastly different, more efficient way.
The inputs don't change, but your processing power does.
Exactly. And to take it out of the tech jargon, think of it mechanically, like the suspension system on a car.
Okay, sure.
The pothole in the road doesn't change. But if you have a cheap suspension, that pothole shatters your teeth.
Yeah, you feel every bump.
Right. But if you upgrade to a luxury suspension system, which is the higher realm, the car glides right over it. The world hasn't changed, but your mechanism for processing it has totally leveled up.
The pothole remains, but the suffering disappears. That's a great way to frame it. And before we can look at those highest spiritual suspension systems, so to speak, we have to look at how history maps out the basic human experience.
Because the text starts there, right?
Yeah, it lays out these foundational maps, moving from the poetic to the highly practical. It starts with the great scholar Wang Guowei.
Right, who categorized the journey of human striving in his work, Words in the World.
Exactly. He breaks the human pursuit down into 3 distinct, really poetic realms.
So let's dive into those. The first realm Wang Guowei describes is the realm of seeking. And the text uses this beautiful quote for it.
Yeah, it goes, "Last night the west wind withered the green trees. Alone I ascended the high tower, gazing at the distant road to the end of the sky."
Man, that imagery is just striking. Ascending a high tower.
Right, and think about the mechanics of that imagery. Ascending a high tower isn't about triumph. It's actually about suddenly realizing the terrifying scale of what you were trying to accomplish.
Because you can finally see how far away the horizon is.
Exactly. You are looking down a distant road that stretches to the end of the sky. It's that daunting initiation of the journey, the realization of the distance.
That makes a lot of sense. Then comes the second realm, which is striving.
And the quote for this one is, "The belt of my robe is gradually getting looser, but I do not regret it. It is for him that I've grown pale."
The belt getting looser, meaning like losing weight.
Yeah, it's the physical toll of obsession. The person is so consumed by their pursuit that they're skipping meals, losing sleep, just shedding weight.
Mhm.
The conscious mind is hammering away at a problem to the very point of physical deterioration, but crucially, there's no regret.
Because it's a realm of total agonizing dedication.
Exactly, you're all in.
And that leads to the third realm, discovery, the culmination. The text quotes, "Amidst the crowd searching for him countless times, suddenly I turned my head, and there he was at the dimly lit crossroads."
It's such a relatable feeling, really. Notice how the ultimate discovery doesn't happen during that frantic searching of the second realm.
Right, it's when you turn your head.
Yes, it happens at a sudden flash of clarity, usually in a quiet place, the very moment you stop forcing it. Your subconscious takes over and just delivers the answer.
Yeah, if we map Wang Guowei's poetic stages to, your everyday life, think about mastering a really complex skill or grinding through a brutal project at work.
We've all been there.
Oh, for sure. You start by looking at this impossible mountain of a task, and that's stage one, the high tower.
The panic stage.
Totally. Then you lose sleep, you stress out, your robe gets loose as you agonize over the spreadsheets or the code. That's stage two.
The striving.
Right. And finally, you step away to get a coffee, you stop thinking about it, you turn your head, and that aha moment just arrives out of nowhere. Stage three.
It's a really romantic psychological map of striving, but the text contrasts this with frameworks that map out the practical realities of human survival.
Like Confucius, right?
Right. Confucius defined realms by the decades of a person's life. It's an age-based timeline for societal harmony.
Yeah, he lays out a very structured path. At 30, you stand firm. At 40, you have no perplexity. And then at 50, you know your destiny.
And that shift from 40 to 50 is profound, moving from merely navigating the world without confusion to suddenly understanding your larger cosmic purpose within it.
That's a huge leap.
It really is, and
Yeah.
it continues. At 60, you have obedient ears, meaning you can hear harsh truths without your ego instantly going on the defensive.
I know a lot of people who definitely haven't reached that realm yet.
Oh, absolutely. And finally, at 70, you follow your heart's desires without overstepping bounds.
So you essentially achieve total freedom because your internal desires naturally align with the external rules of society. Like you naturally just want to do what is right.
Exactly. And the text layers and American psychologist Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs right alongside this.
Which is a purely psychological survival timeline.
Right. He maps the human realm from the bottom up. You must satisfy physiological needs like food and shelter first.
Makes sense.
Only then can you move up to security, then emotional needs, then self-esteem, and finally self-actualization at the absolute peak.
So Confucius gives us a map for aging and society, and Maslow gives us a map for psychological survival.
Yeah, but they're still fundamentally tied to the physical world. They're all about navigating human spaces.
Which is where the text takes a turn. It asks, well, what happens when we try to map out the parts of our existence that aren't tied to survival?
Right. How do Eastern spiritual traditions categorize the invisible, transcendent world?
Exactly. And they look toward nature as the ultimate escape from all that societal entanglement. The text highlights the poet Ta Yuanming to illustrate this shift toward agrarian simplicity.
His realm is defined by returning to the field.
The imagery is just incredibly vivid. Carrying a hoe under the moon, dogs barking deep in lanes, picking chrysanthemums by the eastern fence.
It's essentially a total rejection of the rat race.
The ultimate quiet quitting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a withdrawal from the chaos of ambition. But Buddhism and Taoism formalize this withdrawal into entirely different structural dimensions of existence.
Right. The text details Buddhism's three realms, and it starts with the desire realm.
This is the lowest tier, where sentient beings are driven entirely by sensory inputs. Lust, physical cravings for food, emotional entanglement.
Basically the constant dopamine chase.
Precisely. You're just reacting to cravings. Above that is the form realm.
Okay, what happens there?
Whereas here, beings have transcended basic desires, but they still retain physical forms and material existence. They're pure, but they are bounded by physics.
Got it.
And finally, the highest tier is the formless realm.
See, this is the concept I really want to dig into because it just completely stretches the imagination.
It does.
The text says the formless realm is inhabited by beings completely devoid of material substance. They exist solely with four mental aggregates.
Right. Sensation, thought, action, and consciousness.
But how do you have action without a physical body? That boggles my mind.
Well, think of it as pure, unbound intention. In the formless realm, you don't have a biological body that gets hungry or tired or sick.
Okay.
But you still possess the consciousness to perceive the universe. You are pure awareness. Your thoughts and intentions are the actions themselves, unhindered by gravity or biology.
That is wild. And Taoism offers a parallel structure that's equally vast, right?
Yeah, it splits existence into the earthly realm, which is the domain of monsters and ghosts, then the human realm.
Which the text says is characterized by the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Let's
Yeah.
define those, because they sound like the trap we are all currently stuck in.
Oh, they definitely are. The 7 emotions are joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, and desire. And then you have the 6 sensory cravings.
They're just the mechanisms of attachment.
Exactly. In the Taoist framework, these emotions and cravings dictate the cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death. They are the friction that wears us down every day.
But above that is the heavenly realm.
Right, the realm of gods defined by ultimate goodness, absolute wisdom, zero desires, and no illnesses.
And Zen Buddhism takes a slightly different angle on this transcendent state, which the text describes with these stark, almost haunting images of emptiness.
Yeah, the quotes are beautiful.
Falling leaves fill the empty mountains. The water flows and the flowers bloom. The vast sky endures through the ages, but the wind and moon only last a moment.
Zen focuses heavily on the transience of reality. The realm is defined by recognizing that emptiness. Leaves fall, water flows, time passes, and clinging to any of it is basically pointless.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and where I just had to push back a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Doesn't reaching Buddhism's formless realm, or Zen's empty mountains, require us to completely detach from reality?
Well, that's the common critique.
Because if I abandon the human realm of emotions and desires, aren't I losing the very things that make the human experience worthwhile?
Right.
Like if I see injustice in the world, and I just look at it like a falling leaf on an empty mountain, that sounds like a massive cop-out to me. It sounds like I'm just deeply apathetic and ignoring my responsibilities to other people.
Yeah, that tension is the ultimate friction point when engaging with these philosophies. But if we look closely at the source text, it isn't actually advocating for a lack of compassion.
Okay, then what is it advocating for?
It is advocating for an escape from entanglement.
What's the difference between detachment and escaping entanglement?
Think of entanglement as the frantic, desperate clinging to an outcome, which ultimately causes suffering. A lower realm is easily entangled in worldly matters, easily angered, easily deceived by appearances.
Okay, I'm tracking.
If you see someone drowning, entanglement means you jump in, panic, flail around, and drown with them because you are completely overwhelmed by the emotion of the crisis.
Oh, wow. Whereas a higher realm,
A higher realm means you maintain the clarity and spiritual freedom to throw them a rope without your own internal peace being destroyed by the chaos.
that makes so much more sense.
Right. The text argues that escaping the vulgarity and coarseness of worldly drama doesn't make you a robot. It grants you the ultimate spiritual freedom to exist in a state of grace, just completely unbothered by the noise.
So you aren't ignoring the world, you're just refusing to let the world dictate your internal weather.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the core of this entire text. The author, Sui Feng, has mapped out how all these ancient traditions view enlightenment, and then he synthesizes them to define a highly specific, actionable realm for his own followers.
Yeah, the text transitions from a historical survey to a very direct blueprint. Sui Feng outlines exactly what the highest realm looks like for his followers, who are called the Chanyuan Celestials.
And they operate within a spiritual community known as Lifechanyuan. But wait, before we dive into his specific rules, who exactly are the Chanyuan Celestials? Like, are we talking about an ancient historical sect or something else?
No, it's modern. Lifechanyuan is a modern spiritual community founded by the author, Sui Feng, and the Chanyuan Celestials is just the term used for the members or practitioners within this group who are actively trying to reach this ultimate spiritual height.
Okay, got it. And the very first tenet he lays out for them in the text is actually incredibly grounded. No debts.
Right. And financial debt is obvious, but the text emphasizes owing zero emotional obligations, which is a really heavy concept.
Emotional debt is basically the ultimate anchor to the lower realms. Guilt, unresolved arguments, holding on to grudges, bending to societal expectations.
All of those are invisible tethers. To achieve the highest realm in Lifechanyuan, you must sever those tethers entirely. You just go with the flow and live freely.
He pairs this with having absolutely no desires or worries. The text states there should be no concerns about sustenance, lodging, or even the cycle of birth and death. The mind abides nowhere.
And the metaphors used here are stunning. He says you should be like the wind rustling through the bamboo. When the wind passes, the bamboo leaves no trace.
Or when a goose flies over a cold pond, the pond shows no shadow.
Yeah, it is the perfection of non-attachment. You experience the world, but you let the experiences pass through you without leaving a scar. You're neither concerned about poverty, nor are you eager for wealth.
But paradoxically, the text also introduces this concept of profound abundance. The Chanyuan celestials are expected to possess abundant wealth.
Right.
How does that square with having no desires?
Because the wealth is categorized primarily as soul wealth and spiritual wealth, alongside material wealth. The text uses the phrase accumulating treasures in heaven.
So it's not about being poor on purpose.
Exactly. It isn't an endorsement of asceticism. They aren't forcing themselves to be miserable and destitute in a cave. It's about being spiritually fulfilled, understanding that your true future resides in a much higher level space.
So you don't need to hoard earthly possessions out of fear.
Precisely.
They're also instructed to strictly adhere to the way of the greatest creator. And here, the imagery shifts from yielding to incredibly stubborn.
Yeah, the contrast is fascinating.
The text describes this adherence as being like a bamboo root biting deep into a blue mountain, refusing to let go, remaining completely unyielding no matter which direction the wind blows.
You leave no trace like a goose over a pond when it comes to human drama, but you are as unyielding as roots in a rock when it comes to adhering to the Creator's way.
Right. However, the most challenging aspect of Xu synthesis, and honestly the most controversial for a modern mindset, is what he calls non-contention with the world.
This is where we circle back to your opening scenario.
Yes, so the doctrine of non-contention. The text instructs the reader to view the mundane world like an ant kingdom. You make no judgments, you make no evaluations. Everything simply follows its nature.
Right.
And here's the exact instruction from the text. Let wolves be wolves and sheep be sheep. Do not try to turn wolves into sheep or sheep into wolves.
The author writes, the course of life is like a wild goose treading snow-mired paths. In passing, it may leave a mark on the mud, but the goose flies on without looking back.
The instruction is to actively behold the world of truth, goodness, and beauty, and to consciously ignore the phenomena of falsehood, evil, and ugliness.
Which is really tough for people today to accept.
Reconciling that with our daily lives is so hard. Because let's apply this, right? Say you have a deeply toxic coworker, a wolf.
Okay.
Our modern instinct is to go to HR, to confront them, to try and fix the injustice. But the doctrine of non-contention says the toxic coworker is just a wolf doing wolf things in an ant kingdom. Why are you letting it ruin your day?
Because trying to force the wolf to be a sheep is exactly what causes entanglement. It traps you in the human realm of frustration and anger. You're basically fighting against the fundamental nature of the universe, which unfortunately includes ugly things.
It's like treating the world's drama as a nature documentary.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like if you are sitting on your couch watching a documentary and a lion chases a gazelle, you don't jump up and scream at the PV to stop it.
Right, you observe it. The lion is just doing what a lion does.
The text is asking you to treat human society the exact same way. You behold the beautiful things, and you let the ugly things play out according to their nature without letting them drag your spiritual suspension system down.
And what's interesting is the author offers a very concrete, communal timeline for achieving this state. This isn't presented as a lifelong, solitary pursuit in the wilderness.
Right, there's actually a schedule.
Yeah. The text states that after 3 years of practice in what they call the second home of Lifechanyuan, followers will have climbed to the middle of the mountain.
And what exactly is the second home?
It refers to a structured, communal living environment created by Lifechanyuan. It's a place where members live together to actively practice these tenets of no debts, no desires, and non-contention, completely isolated from traditional societal pressures.
And 3 years in that environment gets you halfway there.
Yes. And the text makes a really bold guarantee. It says, as long as one lives in the second home for 8 years, 80% of the Chanyuan celestials will realize their dreams and achieve their most beautiful ideals. It is a highly structured, promised outcome for those who adopt this specific realm.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from ancient poets agonizing on high towers, to psychological survival needs, to Buddhist formless dimensions, all the way to a modern community promising a path to the ultimate realm in exactly 8 years.
It's a massive journey.
It is.
Yeah.
Why does understanding these different realms matter to you listening right now?
Because it forces an evaluation of your baseline. The text lays it out clearly. Having a higher realm means moving toward nobility and elegance. It grants you supreme spiritual and mental freedom.
Yet on the flip side,
Without a realm, or existing in a lower realm, a person tends towards vulgarity and coarseness. You remain easily entangled in worldly matters, constantly deceived by fleeting appearances.
You essentially become a prisoner to your own reaction.
Exactly. You live a life with very little actual freedom because your environment is entirely dictating your internal state.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thing for you to ponder. We started by talking about operating systems and suspension systems. So I want you to look at your life exactly as you're living it today.
Take a real honest look.
If your life was categorized into a realm based purely on what you spend most of your mental energy on, what realm are you in? Are you in Wang Guowei's realm of striving, constantly losing sleep over the next goal?
Or are you in the Taoist realm of desire, constantly chasing the next hit of dopamine or sensory validation?
Or are you actually moving toward that realm of quiet observation, leaving no trace like the wind in the bamboo?
It requires deep honesty to evaluate where your mental energy truly resides and what it's costing you.
And more importantly, if you were stuck in that exact realm forever, running that same software, absorbing every pothole in the road for the rest of your life, would you be at peace with it?
That's the real question.
Or is it finally time to upgrade the system?